So I was putting slides together to talk more about logic models, and I came across this presentation on the webpage, and it's from the Central Toronto Youth Services. And I thought, it's on the internet. The slides are so good, far better than the ones I was making. So I'm just going to give them credit for creating these slides, and I'm going to speak to their slides. So you can find it on the internet. It's readily available, open access, and I'm just thanking them for their amazing slides. So they talk about, so basically a logic model. It's a tool to help you get your head around how to evaluate a program. And it's a representation or a blueprint of a program, and it offers a way to describe and share an understanding of the relationships or the connections among the elements that are necessary to operate a program. A logic models describe a program or initiative. It depicts both what is planned, the doing, and also what results are expected, which is the getting. So basically you're doing activity A, B, C, and D, and you hope to get the results that are over there. And the benefits of developing our logic model is it provides an opportunity to discuss and agree upon the program description. So as I said, when I meet with the stakeholders of this community organization, at least I'll be meeting, we'll be talking about it, we'll start brainstorming the logic model, and it kind of makes sure that we're all we'll all have different understandings, but at least they'll be out on paper or on the board, and we'll actually be able to talk about them. And it clarifies the difference between the activities, what they're actually doing, and what they hope to achieve as a result of the program. And the benefit, once you've actually gone through that process and completed a logic model, it summarizes the key elements of the program, and it shows the theory behind what the program is doing, and it makes explicit the assumptions underlying the program. And it actually will show the cause and effect relationships between the activities and what the intended outcomes are. So you can use the program logic model to help you plan, to help you communicate. It could actually help with orientation and training. So if we had a student come to work with us, we'd be able to use that as a training purposes. It monitors and evaluates the program as it's rolling out. And also you use it for grant applications. And we're actually putting together a large grant to do HIV prevention in federal corrections. And it's the funding is coming from the Public Health Agency of Canada, and they are requiring us to fill in a logic model template for this grant funding. So CAT solo, the CAT stands for components, activities, and the target group, and the solo is short for short-term outcomes and long-term outcomes. So what does CAT mean? It's the components. So these are the strategies, the themes, or the sets of activities. So an example might be community outreach or intake or recruitment or counselling. And the activities are the interventions or the actions taken. So what service does your program deliver, and what are the functions or tasks? It could be group work or family counselling or referrals. And the target group are the individuals or the communities at whom the program activities are directed. Whose needs are you trying to meet? So for example, it could be the youth aged 12 to 18 serving bail orders. It could be mothers and infants of at-risk families. Solo, short-term outcomes are the direct result of the program, and it's usually what you expect to see at the end of the program, and they usually are changes in awareness, knowledge, skills, and attitudes. The long-term outcomes reflect the impact or the social economic consequences of the program, and these are the end result. Though the programs are not generally held accountable, they may claim that they've contributed to these end results. And these are generally changes in conditions, such as decreasing number of children going into foster care. And so all these different components are interrelated. So you've got your inputs, which are, if you have these components of this program, then the activities will happen. And if the activities happen with the target group, then the outputs will happen. And the outputs would be happening are the short-term outcomes. And if the short-term outcomes happen, then the long-term outcomes will happen also. So that's just a summary. I won't do that. So these are also slides from the Toronto Youth Service. So this was an example that they gave of a logic model, and I really liked it. It's quite a complicated slide, but it just shows you how a logic model can be done. So obviously this is quite a complicated school-based program for high school students living in central Toronto, and these kids are at risk for exiting school early. So this is a semester-based brief service, a group intervention, and they're focusing on relationship building. And it hopes that the students will engage more positively with their school, they'll stay in school, and they'll realize their personal successes. And the school-based team achieves these goals through partnerships and collaborations with the target school and their staff, as well as with individual goal plans with each youth group. So you can see in terms of the components, there's inputs and outputs. So the inputs are the staff, the school support staff, the high schools, the physical space that's in the school, the food for each group, and the supplies. And there's a cost to those inputs. And then they have service for the children, the teens. They have meetings with 3 of the schools. They have monthly reports and annual service reports and inquiries. The activities that they do is they do referrals, they coordinate with school partners, they provide group service like skill development and peer support and advocacy. They coordinate with other community partners, they have service closures, they do peer supervision and group consultation, team meetings, staff meetings, training. And the target group is the Central Toronto and East York youth, ages 13 to 18, and they're at risk of early school exit. So they've got their outcomes, and they've got short-term, they've actually got mid-term, and they've got long-term. And you can see that each of all of these outcomes, they've actually then outlined what their measurements will be. So the short-term outcomes will be school behaviours, improvements in school attendance, lates and supervisions, and they're going to count those. Basically, those are going to be numbers of school attendance, school late, school suspensions. They've also got moods and emotions, so they hope that their youth will have improved resilience and well-being and reduced anxiety and depressive symptoms. And they're going to be doing a standardized survey that they'll be doing on the youth and and they've also got service satisfaction, because they want to see if the youth are engaged with the group and the youth are satisfied, and there'll be a survey to check with that. There's also behaviour to others, so they want to see if the youth have improved their conflict resolution and reduced their peer-teacher conflicts, and there'll be another survey to actually test for that. And so these measurements they're doing pre and post, so they'll be doing them at the beginning of the program and at the end of the program, and comparing the results to see if there's an improvement. Yeah, so you can see in this kind of program evaluation, you'll be looking at surveys, you might be doing focus groups. I don't think they're actually doing focus groups, are they? But often it's what we call mixed methods. So you're doing some quantitative, some number gathering, as well as some qualitative, either in-depth interviews or focus groups. Yeah. So another example they give in their on their webpage and in this presentation, they're talking about empowering Black youth with an understanding of themselves, their cultures, and increase their awareness as that impacts mental health. And again, they're looking at 14 to 18-year-old Black youth in the city of Toronto. And so they've got, this program has got inputs, activities, outputs, a target group, and then short-term and long-term outcomes. And they've outlined it all in detail. The next example I wanted to show you is a logic model that we put together several years ago, again for a funding application. And this was looking at a participatory approach to cancer screening for individuals with incarceration experience. So this logic model actually goes down the page rather than across the page. So you've got the components, activities, and targets, and then the outputs. So those are all the CAT components, basically. The outputs actually are kind of linked to the components. And then you've got the outcomes, which are the immediate, the intermediate, and long term. I won't go into detail, but it's all there if you want to look at it. So I guess that was the last slide. Yeah, and so the reason I think it's good for you to learn about program evaluation at this stage is that you need to know that this is a type of research that is done. And it may be that as you're thinking about your own research proposal, you're thinking, well, actually, what I want to do is evaluate a program. It's a program that's out there and I want to see if it's effective. So if that's the case, then you might consider incorporating a logic model kind of template into your research proposal. But I would caution you because it can be quite complex. But some of the ideas that we've thrown around in these two presentations, you might be wanting to mull over and think about ways that you might look at incorporating a program evaluation into your proposal if you think that's what you're doing. And then finally, we're incorporating in this module mixed methods discussion, because some of these kind of evaluations really lend themselves to using mixed methods, using quantitative and also qualitative data to evaluate them in depth. That's all for now, so thank you for listening. Bye now.